Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Today I'm actually calling in through our recording app on the phone. So this is new for me because my computer hard drive is being replaced right now. It took a little crap. So I'm doing it on the phone. So I hope I sound okay. I think I should. Today I have my favorite guest, my returning guest, Trance Channel, Gregory Possman, who's going to be channeling Archangel Gabriel today here live. So that's pretty exciting. I'm excited to talk to him. We're going to get into it a little bit in just a minute, but we're both grieving a loss. He lost his wife, his beloved wife, recently passed away, and you guys have heard me talk. My sister Tony has passed away. So we're going to be talking about today, what happens. Hopefully Gabriel will answer, what happens after we leave our body. So I'm excited to talk with him today. For all of you guys who listen to me every week, thank you so much for joining me today. It means a lot. I get lots of emails and that you enjoy my show, and that makes me really happy. So you can keep those coming. Praise is always a good thing, right? For those of you who are just tuning into me for the first time in my show, welcome. A little bit about me. I'm an author and a photographer, and I have a book, a published book, and it's titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And in the book, I have 30 manifesting stories along with photographs that I took of the contributors manifesting postcards, and their stories are so cool. So I love to go back and reread the stories. And in it, I include writing exercises, and it helps us get clear on what we want to manifest. And there's a toolbox full of fun exercises on how to manifest money and health, career, love, and so much more. So if you're into that thing and you're interested in doing some inner work exercises and reading people's incredible journeys of transformation and inspiration and manifesting, you can find my book at your favorite bookstore or online and purchase a copy and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear about it. Also, I'm always asking for people to send me manifesting postcards. So please do that. They're really cathartic to make and a lot of fun. And if you want to know how to and you don't have any idea, if you go to postcardstotheuniverse.com, there's a little section that tells you how to make a manifesting postcard. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get a free gift. And you'll also get information on how to create one. So that's great. And if you're on Facebook and you like to be parts of groups, if you like good groups, I have a public Facebook group called Postcards of Love. And I share uplifting stuff, pictures and funny stuff. So please join me. Next week, I have author Susie Hayes on, and she helps people, and her book is called, this will make more sense when I tell you the title of her book. Her book is called Freed from Stuck, Dare to Cross the Bridge Beyond Grief, Trauma, and Self-Sabotage to Discover Lasting Change Now. So she helps people become freed from being stuck by showing them how to access internal resources they never knew they had and create what they never knew they could. So I'm excited to talk with her next week. Okay, so to get to my guest today, a little bit about Gregory. Reverend Gregory Possman is a psychic trance channel, and he started in 1991. He channels over 40 light beings, including Sananda, Archangels Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, as well as master teachers Spirit Quan Yin, Mary, 5 members of the Council of Shambhala, and others. He also channels the Pleiadians, Siriuns, and Venusians, and Gregory performs workshops throughout the world, and he offers recorded channel private sessions by phone. Each month, he gives a free channeled message, and you can find that at gregorypossman.com. That's EGORYPOSSMAN.com. And today he's going to be live channeling after our first break, Archangel Gabriel. And I always ask Gregory who he feels wants to come through. And since we're both going through grieving right now, Archangel Gabriel popped up and was going to talk about grief, letting go, and honoring the dearly departed. Hi, Gregory. How you doing?
I'm well, Melissa. I'm well.
Thanks. I'm so sorry to hear about Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How long ago? My sister passed on June 25th. When did Sandy cross over?
She died on July 31st, about 4:58 in the afternoon.
Yeah. You want to share a little bit about Sandy and the work that you guys do together?
She was the heart and soul of our ministry, which is basically a wedding ministry where we officiate weddings. And Sandy put all of the heart part into it and much of the soul. And she was an ordained minister. She had been addicted 45 years ago. She was clean for 45 years, and she was addicted to alcohol and heroin and cocaine, and she kicked all of that, which I think was probably one of her most prized achievements, I guess I would say. And she was very proud of that. And so that was one thing that she was very, very proud of. And our organization, High Country Ministers here in the mountains, is the other thing that I think she would have been the most proud of. And so she had manifested a really wonderful relationship with me, and she used to put a lot of pressure on me by telling me I was her hero. And so, and I say that, please don't hear me, I'm not bragging. She set the bar very, very high.
Oh, I think that's so sweet.
It was sweet, and she would tell people that, and I would just I would sort of grimace a little bit and think, oh my gosh, this is not good.
How do I live up to that, right?
Exactly. I can't do anything wrong. Otherwise, I'm in big trouble. And this may sound a little bit bizarre, but I'm actually looking at a jar with some of her ashes in it, which I'm going to send up to her family in Canada. Sandy was from Canada. And so I interred most of the ashes, but there is a small amount here. And I'm just learning so much. It's a little scary because she handled all of our bookwork and banking and all that stuff, and now I'm doing all that, but I am learning a tremendous amount, and I'm relieved that she's no longer suffering, but I miss her terribly.
Sure.
We were together for 30 years, and that's a long time. So learning to live alone is a new experience.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. That must be 30 years. I didn't know how long you guys were married. I had no idea in her background that she suffered, that she was clean and sober, and that she had addiction problems. That's interesting.
Well, and she also was in a couple of abusive relationships that were pretty horrific. And I always encouraged her to write a book about her life, and she didn't do it. She refused. But she did tell a lot of people her story, and I think the reason she did was because she had a lot of hope for people, and she knew that people could really move out of all of those challenges and difficulties. And of course that is exactly what you do when you talk about manifesting and Postcards to the Universe. It's all about that. So it did give a lot of people, and many of my clients who came here for intensives would hear Sandy's story, and then they would get a lot of hope from that and a lot of positive feelings. So I think that's probably the thing that pays the most tribute to her. And she loved it here in the mountains. She loved living here, and she wanted her ashes interred here. And so that's been done, and we'll hold a memorial service for her on the 29th of October. And the cats miss her as much as I do. Their behavior has changed tremendously.
So, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're very aware of her, of the lack of her presence. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you, are you getting, do you feel that you're still like connected? Are you getting signs? Because we're getting a lot of signs from my sister. Actually, it started the day after she passed. I mean, they've been crazy. The signs that we're getting from her letting us know that she's still around and that she's happy and all these things. Are you having those experiences with Sandy?
Definitely. I can feel her presence.
Okay.
I don't see her and I don't hear her, but I do feel her presence. And I still tell her how much I love her, and that will probably go on for quite
Forever.
some time. And yeah, I feel like it's sort of comes in waves, and
Yeah.
I feel more and more like I'm getting more protection from her, and I get confirmation. I think many of your listeners know my sister is a medium, and oftentimes she'll send me a text and tell me that Sandy's in the house or she's been with me, and
Oh, wow.
so that's confirmation, and that's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it really is. It's helpful. It's, I mean, I have a lot of faith. Like, I have no doubt that the soul goes on. Some people struggle with that, but I don't. So I know that I'm going to see her again, and I know that she's always around, and I've already had 2 visitation dreams for her. And I know they're visitation dreams because they're different than regular dreams, and just the way she looks in the dreams. And it's really comforting, it's real comforting to have those experiences. And I'm going to, after the break, when we talk to Archangel Gabriel, I'll ask about those visitations. And, for others that are listening that may be suffering loss and hoping to connect to their loved ones who've passed on,
absolutely, I think that those signs and those signals, they're very important, and as you said, they're very comforting, and it's really nice to know that continues. And I keep thinking in terms of what would Sandy want, and what would be her desires in terms of things that she left behind physically, and what should I do with them, and so on and so forth. And I've had a lot of very intuitive hits about what should go on and how it should look. So that's been really interesting as well.
Yeah, I imagine. And when you said the cats are missing her, they probably see her around. Do you notice them looking like in odd
the other
places?
day, one of them was
Like they
staring
do
into
that,
space. Yeah, she was looking. Savannah was looking up at the ceiling, and I kept asking her, "What are you looking at? What are you seeing?" And she didn't pay any attention to me. She just kept staring at the ceiling, and whether it was Sandy or not, I don't know. But somebody was there for sure.
Somebody was there for sure. Oh my goodness. So Sandy got cancer, right? That's how she passed.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had a lot of issues with her liver. She had hepatitis C, and they cured that. And then when the cancer arose, it became a challenge because so much of her liver had been damaged by cirrhosis from the drinking that she had done earlier in life.
Wow.
And she would say that she was now paying for the wild times in her earlier life, and so oddly enough, that was one of the things that attracted me to her, because I'd always been a goody two-shoes sort and behaved myself, and when I heard some of the stories that Sandy told me about her life, I thought, "Oh, we're in for a good time here." And boy, was I wrong. I was totally wrong. She converted big time, and then she became ordained, and then she started doing weddings, and all of that bad girl publicity that I thought was coming, it just dissipated. It was gone, and having said that, she was a wonderful wife, a wonderful mate. She was a great business partner. At the risk of being crude, I'm one of the few who was able to make love to his secretary and didn't have any problem. And Sandy was not a secretary by any means. I don't mean
Right,
that.
I know what you mean, though.
She was fantastic. She really supported me in all my work, and she was a huge reason why I feel like I became more successful in what I did. And she was so supportive. It was just amazing. So.
Oh. Yeah,
and I
that's
do
so
miss her,
sweet. Well,
and
you
I know-
can hear how much you love her, and it's hard to not be with her physically. But as you know, be reunited at some point again,
Absolutely. When we talked about that, she was lying there in bed, and I was lying next to her, and she probably had another 8-10 days to live, and she said, I know that we are going to be together forever. And she said, yeah. She says, I'm going to be coming over a hill, and you'll be right there, and we'll do that little scene where we run to each other.
Aww.
And I said, oh, that sounds beautiful, So I look forward to that. I don't know how soon, but it'll happen.
That does sound beautiful. It's making me tear up. Oh my goodness. I know. It's really hard, for us, the ones that are left behind, not having them here in physical. But I think for them, because, time is eternal and it's not like it is here, and they know what's happening, and they know we're going to be reunited, and they're happy and free and no longer in pain. They're having the best time. It's us.
I get that it's a party. I think it's a big celebration over there, but we'll see what Raphael has to say and what Gabriel has to say. I think Raphael will make a quick appearance as well.
Okay.
So
hey, listen.
There. Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. The more the merrier. They can all show up.
Well, they don't have the same physical limitations we do, so it could be a huge party.
Yeah, it'll be a huge party. Yeah, because, our lifespan is so short, if you think about it. It's just like a blink of an eye, and it's done. And then we have eternity to grow with our loved ones. So, well, I'm excited to speak with them. And I just looked at the clock, and I see we're up at our first break. So let's take our break now, and then when we come back, we'll see who wants to come through first. Stay tuned, guys. It's going to be exciting.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
The rainbow is God's promise of hope for you and me. And though the clouds hang heavy and the sun we cannot see, we know above the dark clouds that fill the stormy sky, hope's rainbow will come shining through when the clouds have drifted by. Teresa Caprio is the president and founder of Rainbow Guardian Inc., a nonprofit 501c3 serving the intellectually challenged/developmentally disabled, including autism. Teresa started the foundation in 1995 so she could help make a better life for her intellectually challenged daughter. Her dream is that the Rainbow Guardian will provide the necessary tools and education to help the public understand the special needs population, because it's often discarded in mainstream society. To find out more or make a donation in support, please go to www.rainbowguardian.org. Rainbow Guardian's special mission is to see these unique people live a happy, full life and have a future of liberty and equality.
Welcome back. So if you're just tuning in with me, I have Reverend Gregory Possman on, and he's a trance channel, and we're going to be channeling Gabriel and possibly Raphael. We'll see who wants to come through first. So if you did just hear the commercial about Rainbow Guardian, that's my family's charity, and it was inspired by my sister Tony, who is the one that we were talking about who just passed away, and we're going to be continuing doing the work with the group home and taking care of our other girls in need. So that is going to continue. So just wanted to let you guys know that. So, okay, Gregory, is there anything that you want to say or share before we go right into it? However you want to do it.
Time for me to get out of the way.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Greetings, we are the one called Gabriel, and we are most honored to merge our energies with all of your energies. It is a pleasure, and we look forward to our conversation. How may we be of service?
Thank you so much, Archangel Gabriel, for being here with me today. Both myself and the man's body that you're speaking through, Ashid, he's called, or Gregory, are suffering a loss of a loved one who recently passed over to spirit. So we want to talk about basically what happens when you pass on and where they are and if they're okay, and which I know they're okay, but just to share some information with me and my listeners about people who are suffering the loss of a loved one.
It is fascinating to us on our side that you use the word suffering a loss. On our side, it is a celebration, it is a homecoming, and it is a continuation of one's work, so to speak, though it does not seem like work when one returns to our side. It seems more like a kind of celebration, a kind of acknowledgement, a kind of, what would you call it? It is like congratulating one for the very hard journey that one has just completed. And therefore, we understand the aspect of suffering, and that is sourced in emotion which is felt in the human experience. But on our side, everything is about light, everything is about lightness. In other words, there is no weight to what occurs. And that word can be used in two ways. No weight as in no heaviness, and no waiting, so to speak, as in not waiting for anything. There is no reason to wait for anything because we do not have time on our side, as many of us have explained in the past. And therefore, those who pass over, as you say, pass on, make their transition, perhaps die, although we do not believe in death, since no one dies. Everything continues in terms of the soul and the soul's energy. However, when that process occurs, there can be a tremendous amount of grieving for those who do not seem to be present any longer in anything other than their soul. However, when you think about the truth, the fact that all of the suffering, as some of you talk about, has transitioned as well. In other words, there is no more pain, there is no more weight, there is no more sense of oppression, and there is a tremendous sense of exuberance and looking forward to what is next, so to speak. In truth, the majority of those who have crossed over are actually more worried about those they have left behind, so to speak, even though there is no behind and they have not left anyone. They are still very much aware of your presence. As time goes on, and we on our side become more and more assured that you are in the process of healing, the distance, which is difficult to even explain because, again, there's no space on our side either, but the distance that you would describe as a far apart sort of feeling, that begins to grow. In other words, one could say that we do not have to hover over you, so to speak, the way we might have done in the beginning, and therefore we use the word distance because you understand it. In terms of us, it is more a kind of feeling of less intense light or energy. And therefore, after a period of time and after your healing has become more complete, then you may not feel our presence so much as you might have had in the beginning. We do not know if that makes sense, but it is the truth from our perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, in particular, my sister was special needs in this life. And
we find that an interesting description as well.
Yeah, we do too down here. So she's no longer, I don't know what the right word is. She's no longer bound by her disabilities, let's say, her earthly disabilities over in spirit. So when she, does this happen with everybody, but when she transitioned, does everyone go to the same place? Is it heaven right away? What happens when you drop the body?
When one drops their body, typically they are reintroduced to what is called their council.
Okay.
You sometimes refer to them as your guides and teachers. We call them your council. And those entities surround the soul. They greet the soul. And eventually there is a kind of life review. Now, the distance that it takes for that to be accomplished, and we do not use the word time, we use distance, because that is actually more accurate. The amount of distance that it takes to complete that life review depends upon the state of mind of the person when they make their transition. In other words, if they are more prepared, if they are more ready, then, of course, that distance can be very short, and that life review can take place. We'll use the word quickly, but that's not very accurate. It would be easier for you to understand the word quickly, but again, it's more about energy and light and distance from our perspective. And so, when you ask if everyone goes to the same place, there is no place on our side. That's a misnomer, if you will. There is light, and there is a lot of it. So, those who have experienced the near-death experience and then returned through what some might call the conduit, the cave or the tunnel, back into their human body, they experience going back into a more darkened place because the light is not nearly as bright on your side as it is on ours. The way a person transcends, the way they die, makes a huge difference. And we will say that if they self-destruct, if they commit suicide, oftentimes the distance is much further. And sometimes they are quite astounded when they arrive on our side. First of all, it is difficult for the soul to believe that it has committed that particular act. And second of all, because it is so difficult to understand all of the reasoning, sometimes one doesn't even remember that that's what they did. So there's a greater distance in that case. On the other hand, when one dies of a kind of illness, when their crossing over is expected, then it is a different experience. It is a huge kind of celebration. It is a gathering, and one could call it a kind of graduation. That's another way to explain it.
So, in my situation specifically, my sister choked last year, and she had a trach, and she's lived with the trach for a year. And I feel like, you can tell me if I'm correct, she was maybe possibly going to go last year, but she stuck around longer. And I feel that she had collapsed and the trach was out, and I feel she went quickly. Am I being accurate in my description and my feelings? Is that true?
You will remember that the man Ashid through whom we spoke expected her to pass.
Yes.
He stated that.
Yes.
He felt that it was going to happen quickly. And he was surprised at her recovery. And so, yes, you are accurate from our perspective, and it is to understand that in the final analysis, her journey was not over. There was more that could be learned in this universe, this dimension, this reality, and therefore she remained. And so you could say that what she learned in the period of time that she remained could not have been learned anywhere else. And that is one truth about your earth plane.
Okay.
For all the complaining that human beings do, and we are not judging your complaining, we are just mentioning it because it is true. There are actually billions of souls that are lining up and desiring to come into the earth plane. For many of you who do not live happily in your lives, it's difficult for you to understand why any being would want to enter into the physical plane of the earth realm. However, the value of the earth realm is that there are so many lessons that cannot be learned anywhere else, and therefore the popularity of it, so to speak.
So
It's
each
difficult
soul,
to believe.
yeah, it is. So each soul really wants to learn certain lessons, and that's why we make the choices that we do.
Absolutely. And that is why each soul who transcends or transitions is in the process of making more decisions about what is the next step, what is the next gift that they will bring, what is the next experience they will have.
Interesting. Now, you said billions of souls. So do you and Archangel Raphael and Michael and the angels, do you connect with every soul?
On different levels, yes. Absolutely. And when we talk about levels, the amount of participation that we engage in with any particular soul is dependent upon the gift that we have to offer them and whether or not that gift will be useful to them. You have probably heard that the universe is an incredibly efficient place. The earth plane may not seem to be, but the universe is an amazingly efficient place, and no energy whatsoever is wasted. And another truth is that absolutely no energy is ever lost. It is converted perhaps into another form, but energy is never lost, never wasted.
It's interesting. And when the soul is we'll just say drops the body, because you don't say die over there. So let's say drops the body. Can the soul be in more than one place and with more than one person who is still living at the same time?
Absolutely. The Archangel Michael describes it as fragmentation. It is also the word fragmentation that is used oftentimes to describe what you call the past life experience. So the fragmentation is that part of energy that has not learned whatever it needs to learn in terms of its lessons. And it is what you might call the residual that is left. And it will be able to create its experience, the experience that it needs, the experience that it wants, in order to transcend its previous experience. In other words, whatever is left is experienced in whatever realm or dimension that it needs to be, and then one moves on into the light, so to speak, and when there is no residual left, one merges completely and totally with the Creator. That is very difficult to explain in terms of your language and what you would call your perception of the wording that might be used to describe that.
Yeah, it's difficult to comprehend with what we know, with the limits of time and space and how we measure it here. So, trying to understand it is a little difficult, but I think I understand what you're sharing with us. I want to take my break here and then come back if that's okay, because I see we're at the second break time. So stay tuned, everybody, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
If I could be you,
and you could be me,
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. So I'm going to just jump right in. I have Archangel Gabriel being channeled by Gregory Possman on. And so I want to talk about how we can connect better with our loved ones who are no longer on the plane, the earth plane, and they're in spirit. Are they sending us signs a lot? Are they trying to connect with us to let us know that they're doing okay and that they're doing good?
It is difficult to describe because it is different for each entity.
Okay.
There are some entities that are very protective.
Mm-hmm.
There are some entities who are less protective but are more present. And then there are those who are watching from a distance, so to speak, and can actually manifest a sort of closeness whenever anything of a destructive or challenging nature occurs. And so it is to understand that there is a vast variety of experiences that can be created on our side. We wish to give you a quick example. There is an archangel named Cassandra who is in charge of a tremendous amount of training, so to speak, in the angelic realm. And there is a lot of that going on. Those angels are capable of embodying in a human body, unbeknownst to the host, so to speak. They can do heroic deeds that are supernatural in nature. They could actually lift a car without any sort of damage being done to the body of the host. They can dive down deep into the water and retrieve a human being if they needed to, and have done so on many occasions. They have also been known to extricate people from fires. And so, in that regard, yes, there can be an extremely protective and participative experience, and that sometimes takes place. Now, the next question, of course, logically would be, will the person who was the victim of such an experience recognize who it was? Perhaps, perhaps not. But it is to understand that it doesn't matter whether they recognize them or not. They can also reappear, so to speak, in a physical body on the earth, if that is their desire. And their soul, the soul of that individual, can be recognizable to the person who knew them in the first lifetime. Now, of course, it is not the first lifetime, but that's how some of you see it.
Right. Well, I feel like my sister is giving us, my family, a lot of signs. We've been having a lot of experiences from her and seems messages from her, and I feel that she's given me and my other sister visitations in our dreams, that she's visited us. Is that correct? Am I correct?
That is happening, and it is correct because you are open to it.
Okay.
And those who disbelieve, those who believe that there is nothing in the afterlife, so to speak, eventually they might change their minds, but ultimately the spirit on the other side who is trying to connect may become somewhat frustrated because of the fear that those who experience that fear, they have difficulty accepting what is happening. And so those who do not have any fear about it, they are open to it, and it happens frequently, yes.
Oh, okay.
Those signs can easily be accepted by you because of your belief system.
Okay, so then the follow-up to that would be for those who do want to connect, possibly they should tell themselves to try to be more open to receiving messages from the other side and dreams from their loved ones, to be open for them to come through. Correct?
The possibility of that taking place from our perspective is quite minute. However, we do agree with your statement, yes, if they could be more open to the possibilities, they would have more of an experience.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. So my next question would be, how, for us humans that are going through the grieving process, what would be your advice to us to help us as we're going through the loss of our loved one in their physical body?
You sit very quietly. You allow yourself to feel your grief, and then you expand it. You make it bigger.
Okay.
Instead of making it shrink because you don't want to experience it, you make it larger. And by making it larger within yourself, you find a way to express it. Perhaps it will be tears, perhaps it will be screaming, perhaps it will simply be sitting down and writing in a journal what your experience is. But you must find a way to express it, and then it will begin to happen in waves, and those waves will be less and less intense as time goes on.
Okay.
A few nights ago, the man Ashid went outside on his deck. He was just sitting and listening to the insects and the birds and the trees. And he realized that a kind of wave of grief had passed. And in the next day or two, he actually felt a few moments of happiness. And he felt happy because he knew that the soul of his departed wife was doing magnificently. Because that is the message that he received while he was sitting there quietly listening to the trees and the insects and the birds. So our suggestion is that rather than try to make it happen, one becomes receptive to it and allows it to happen.
Are we always reunited with our loved ones?
Not always. There are situations where lessons must be learned that do not allow for the reuniting to take place.
And what kind of, can you give an example of what that would look like so that we can understand it?
Imagine a being who is so, what is the word? Who so underestimates their power or their strength. And imagine that they must experience a kind of exile or banishment in order to find that strength within themselves. And that is the choice that they may make. They may choose that. However, once that lesson has been embraced, once that lesson has been absorbed within their being, then ultimately, whether it is new beings that they communicate and what is the word you would use, connect with, that is perhaps the right word, then it is new beings that they connect with, and that sense of belonging that you crave so much in the human experience becomes completely and totally, it becomes total. That's perhaps the only way to put it. And suddenly there is a feeling that it doesn't matter whether it were the same beings that they were familiar with in the past. It's actually forgotten because the experience is such a wondrous one. There's no room, if you would say it that way. There's no space for any sort of grieving that you had not reconnected with those whom you knew way back when, which is how you would describe it. Again, from our perspective, more about distance than it is about time.
Okay. I think I understand what you're talking about.
It's difficult without the space-time continuum, so to speak.
It is a little difficult to comprehend. Is there anything else that you want us to know? I didn't know, as I was talking with Gregory before, if Raphael wanted a few minutes. I don't, whatever you want to do is fine with me.
Your timing is perfect. The one called Raphael is waiting patiently.
Okay.
Indeed. Just a moment.
Thank you, Gabriel.
We are the one called Raphael, and we greet you. We want to say one thing to all of you. The process of transition, passing on, whatever word you wish to use, it is an extremely healing process. And as much as it is difficult to believe, because you are looking, of course, at a cold body, one that does not move, the soul's experience of healing is magnificent. It is quite incredible. It's freeing, it's liberating, it's celebratory. There are not words in your language to describe the magnificence of it. And that is the basic message that we wish to offer you. Because we know you feel as though you are left behind. However, as many have described it, even though you cannot see the boat that has departed from the dock, perhaps it is beyond the horizon, but the boat still exists, and it is doing magnificently.
Well, I'm very glad that you shared that, because one of the biggest struggles personally that my mother is having is seeing my sister's body after she passed, and she can't get that out of her head.
The man Ashid has had the same experience with his wife. He assisted in the preparation of the body when it was moved out of the home where his wife passed, which was her desire. And even though it is difficult for those who are left behind to involve themselves in that process, it is also a form of acceptance. In other words, that is not how he chooses to remember his wife, and that is not how your mom will choose to remember her daughter. She will choose to remember the bright times, the joyous times, the glitter in her eyes, so to speak. We're not quite sure how you put it, but that light in their eyes. And that is the part that stayed with him. Her eyes were dark when she passed, and they were never that way in life. One of the things he loved most about her was her beautiful eyes. So recognize that that transition that occurs is the light leaving the body, the spirit, the soul leaving the body. And once that occurs, there is nothing left but a shell. Just a shell.
Just a shell, yeah. And that the soul is rejoiced when they drop the body, because they're no longer constrained by what was ever ailing them, or in our case, disabilities that she had.
Still interesting that you call them disabilities. We call them abilities.
Yeah, well,
You
they
call
are
them
actually.
gifts, and you call them disabilities. Amusing to us, but we
true.
understand.
Yes, it's true.
I believe it is time to give him his body back. We are
Thank
most
you.
grateful on the part of both we, Raphael and Gabriel. Many, many blessings to all of you, especially to those of you who are suffering a loss, no matter how long ago it may have occurred. So be it.
Thank you for being with me today.
I'm back.
You're back. Wow, it's always wild. I don't know how much of it you were listening to, or if you weren't listening at all. I know sometimes you get like snippets, and sometimes you're like, I didn't even hear anything.
I did hear a little bit of that, but not a great deal. Not too much.
Well, it's
And it was-
comforting.
It's interesting. During the break, I don't check out. I mean, I don't come back into my body. I just sit, and I just felt this massive kind of entry of Sandy's soul, and that was just beautiful. I can't even describe how good that felt. So, and again, being human, it's like comparing that to any sort of physical experience was just, it's not even close. I mean, it's just like this massive invasion of light that comes in. It was really quite incredible. So all my gratitude for having me on and allowing me to experience that a few moments ago. It was really quite incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes me so happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good, Sandy. I'm glad you had some space to come in. Oh, wow. I know. It's very emotional. You know how much I love you and having you on, and that's how much I learned from you. So, as always, Gregory, I so appreciate it. And,
You're more than welcome. It's my pleasure.
And we'll figure out our next time and what we want to talk about. And I'm sending you and your family lots of love. And
well, thank you.
You
know that my grandkids and my children live in Miami, so I'm headed down your way in September for about 10 days to be with them, and that is really, really wonderful. I was down there for 5 days just after Sandy passed, and it was truly amazing to be with them. So
good.
very,
I'm
very
glad.
comforting and very healing.
Good. Thank you so much, Gregory, and for all of you guys listening who have lost somebody you love. I hope that brought you some comfort. And thank you for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.